Poetry, sourdough.
Stereotype after
It's a
stereotype.
good combination. Okay. Good morning. Thank you for coming so early Sunday. Yes, exactly. It's a new week. Just like, let's take a minute to take 3 deep breaths. And to, with that breathing, connect to our bodies. And with that breathing, to connect to our souls. With a prayer that the work that we do here should elevate us and the world around us through the power of words, this mighty koach of words, of writing, of expression, connection. Please Hashem, let us be your pen in the world. Open us up. I want to make sure that this is working, Judy. I'm not sure what this means. Is there anything I need to know?
Because I have no idea.
Okay, I did what she told me to do, but I don't still know what I did. What she told me to do. Oh, here, I think it's working. Is this working, Tana?
Yes, it's working.
It's working.
And the YouTube is recording, so seemingly everything is fine.
Okay,
We
I
hear
think it's fine.
you, we
I think
see
it's okay.
you.
Okay, okay, good. Welcome. So I want to share, as we know, this is the beginning of this Elul series, and this is sort of our preparation for the new year and our preparation for this moment of being here in the middle of everything that we're in the middle of. And that's my hope and my prayer for this space, is that we can be with what's here right now, as we're also preparing for what's to come, which is Rosh Hashanah. And using writing to do that. And my author hope is that I can share, we're going to base it a little bit on Rav Kook's writings, but also I want to be sharing some of the pathways. It's almost like walking through a forest, and a couple of the pathways that I've found through the forest of creative expression and creative writing as a way of bringing our souls down into the world and bringing material that needs to be heard in the world through as well. And that's certainly my hope with my writing, and I'm assuming you have the same, is for my personal healing and expression, as well as the healing of the klal. So how do we do that? How is actually, what are the mechanics of creating words that can generate personal healing and that can narrate and enliven the Jewish people? And Rav Kook writes about this a lot, and certainly he's such a great model of doing that. And so I'll just share the first quote that stands out to me. And we're looking in this beautiful book, The Spiritual Revolution of Rav Kook, that recently came out, translated by Rabbi Ari Zev Schwartz. Thank you. And he brings in a lot of letters from Rav Kook that show the importance for Rav Kook of creativity. And so we just want to be mining those. So one of my favorite quotes, he writes, I write not because I have the energy to write, but rather because I do not have the energy to be silent.
Energy
to be silent.
Silence. Wow.
So it's sort of like this acknowledgement of, I don't have the energy to write. This is a task beyond me to give expression to this. And yet, even more than that, I don't have the energy to be silent. And I feel like that sort of encapsulates, at least for me, my experience of writing during this war, which is, who has the energy or the ability to articulate anything, because it's all so blowing our vessel. It's beyond us. And yet even more than the fact that it's beyond us, we have to write.
Can we not?
And how can we not write in the face of all this? So that's, I think, the paradoxical place that we're holding today as creators and expressors of we're just blown out of our vessels at the same time as we really need to stay on task of embodiment and giving expression to what we're going through and what we're learning from this and how to metabolize it, right? So do you understand the paradoxical place I think we're all holding, which is it's so beyond giving expression. What's going on? It's so baffling and beyond. And yet, even more than that, we are called to give expression for ourselves and for the klal. God help us. And we have to believe that God is helping us. And we have to believe that this is our work to do. So that's certainly like the energy that I try to bring to my writing. And I want to share today a couple of poems that I've written and how I went about writing them, specifically that were around the hostages that were recently murdered. And in a way, it's old news already. It's a week old. And yet it's timeless news. And so my hope is that our work together, we're all going to kind of give expression to this, and that's going to be good for everybody. So I'll start with 1 week ago, and I'll share some of maybe the techniques that I use to get me writing that I hope that we can use. And the main one is emotion. The main one is these water waves of emotional reaction to an event or to a situation. I have found that when I can zone in on my emotional reaction to what's going on, that becomes the waterway. Those emotions are the waterway of the boat of our expression. So we want to be experiencing everything that God is sending us and like experiencing the emotions of it, not be capsized by the emotions of it. We want to take those emotions and the reactions and use it as the fuel for our expression. We cannot, therefore, be afraid of our emotions around it, even when it feels titanic. But we use that to give expression to what our souls are here to do in the world. So I know for me, last Sunday, woke up in the morning and read about the murder of the 6 hostages, and boom, there was the emotion. Okay, here it is. Now what? Now what do I do? And so I just sort of position myself at the computer and I cry and I feel and I daven and I connect with Hashem. And then, and then I just write and see whatever comes out. And that's, the writing exercise that we'll do after I share a couple of things will be today about let's get watery, like let's feel into that waterway. And then how do we use it? And we'll get to the exercise after. So dear Hirsch, so I did it in the form of a letter to Hirsch, right? So it's good to have like, okay, wow, what do I do with this, all of this emotion that's here? Let me find a format. Okay, I'm going to write a letter to Hirsch, right? So it's like a certain zooming in, and you'll see once as you probably already know, as expressors, you're encountering this big emotion and this big experience. What are the frameworks that I use to bring it into expression? So, a letter to Hirsch. That's the thing that's going to take all this enormity and zone it in. Dear Hirsch, I took you as my own. We all did. For 330 days, we have arrayed a fragile glass menagerie of facts about you, your love of travel and soccer, easy to laughter, lover of life and of family. And you became like family to us. one of the ones we prayed for so helplessly over Shabbos candles. How many prayers did you stir in our hearts? God alone is left to count that now. All we can do is take stock in your loss. This glass menagerie is shattered and haunted, a world in shock. Boom. So quick, short, precise. I think. Yeah, it's like 12 lines. So, and this, I think I put it on Facebook, has like almost 3,000 shares, probably 40,000 people saw this poem. Because it's not my greatest poem ever, but I think because everybody's feeling this, and everybody's like, I don't know how to express what I'm feeling. Oh, here's somebody who took a minute to give expression to it. Let me share that. And then the waves go out of an expression that gives voice to a cloud, that gives voice to something that we're all experiencing. I'll do the second one. So the second one was to Carmel Gott a few days later. And the Carmel Gott one, wow, I'm sure you also had emotion. That was like, it was an emotion I was able to go about my day, but I wasn't taken down by it, but it was there and present and available. And I was like, wow, I have a faucet on. This is great. The faucet's turned on. Let's use it. So I'm saying all my own experience, and in a way, like I feel a little uncomfortable, like, oh shoot, I'm talking about myself. But I believe
we only have ourselves.
that's all we have. And Rav Kook would agree that we have to use ourselves as the vessel.
We connect to the cloud through the plant.
That's right. Thank you. We connect to the cloud through the prat. So I'm sharing my prat. And about Carmel Gott. I saw these shoes displayed along the Tel Aviv beach one day, these graceful Indian slippers where someone had beaded onto the soles Carmel Gott's name. So strange how of all those 240 names, this one wailed loudest in my brain. Why her? The stories, I suppose, of the dungeons where she taught mountain pose. They said she led meditations for the hostages chained in hell, for those there held, Hell''. Meditations for dungeons, a whole new genre of human atrocity. And yet this is the caliber, the quality of our people. As we are stretched beyond recognition, as we weep and breathe into torn tendons, our emotions contorted, distorted beyond comprehension, and yet we breathe. We pray with intention, we proceed. Carmel, may your soul be recumbent for all eternity in the knowing that you have moved us with your beaded soul, with your nobility. Take your Shavasana, darling, rest now in peace, no longer held, now released. So again, this poem, I was like, okay, Carmel Gott, yoga. That's going to be the main metaphor that we're going to work with. Because she was teaching yoga, and wow, what a metaphor for our people as we're being stretched in this experience. So you zone in, like I said, it was like, there's the hugeness of Hirsch. Okay, there's the letter. There's the hugeness of Carmel Gott. Okay, there's yoga and that metaphor for all of us that we then extrapolate out of her prat, this claw that represents what the people are going through.
As it resonated for you, this is the prat that you picked out of her prat.
Yeah.
To give expression to. It could be different for different people.
Well, and you'll see, oftentimes I don't even know what my prat is going to be until I start writing. Right. It's not necessarily that I'm like, okay, I want to talk about Carmel Gott and her yoga, and that's going to be the metaphor. I think it just comes. It just comes. And that's the way, and we've talked about this before, that is the way the soul works, is the soul, once we enter into a creative state, the soul works her magic. And the soul will usually, when it comes to poetry, the soul will work with metaphors. The soul will work with
authenticity also.
With authenticity, with metaphors, with rhyme. So the main techniques that we use as writers of poetry, which is what we're zoning in on right here, there's many, many techniques we can use in other things, but the main technique that I've seen come through is the soul will use a metaphor and the soul will talk in rhyme. We're going to talk about rhyme in a minute because it's crucial. And I want to show you the ways that I work with it, because rhyme is really tricky because it can start to sound really cliche really fast. And you don't want cliche. We do not want cliche at all costs. We don't want cliche. We want fresh bread in the morning. We don't want bread from 3 days ago, like freshness. So beware of the stale rhyme. Beware the stale rhyme. Okay, so I'll give you an example since we're here. That's why I have this. I don't know if I can write this. The Carmel got one. If you notice in this, okay, let's go over it again. I saw these shoes displayed on the beach one day. Okay, Carmel Gott's name, the one wailed loudest in my brain. That's pretty stale, right? Like, wait a second, like careful. That's like a lot of kind of basic, not such exciting vocab, boom, 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 boom. But then I moved away from it. Why her? The stories, I suppose, of the dungeon where she taught mountain pose. Okay, we got another one in there, but they say she led meditations for the hostages chained in hell. Yes, those they're held. Okay, and then when you move away from the rhyme, it's like you can put it out there a little bit. It's like a teaser or like a thing, but then you quickly break with it thereafter. And when you break the rhyme, then there's like a freshness and people wake up out of the stupor of the rhyme. And so that's one of the techniques that you can work with, is like, I'm going to like engage with the rhyme a little bit and get people into the rhythm, and then you break it. And that wakes up the mind. So you can use rhyme. I use rhyme. You have to use rhyme, but
Not forced.
Use it smart. Like, don't fall into the trap of a bunch of rhyming, Okay. Oh, and then I'll say this. So for the hostages chained in hell, and then when I said the word hell, I said, yes, they're held. And I was like, held? So there's held, and then there's held. There's hell, and then there's hell. And so that was a moment when the soul was like, oh, there's a word play here that's going to express a truth. They're being held, and it's an experience of hell. And the words then become the vessel that hold this truth. The letters become a vessel that hold truth. And this will just occur naturally as you're flowing in your writing, is things like this will come through. Okay. Are you feeling into what I'm saying?
So good that you're able to express what you're doing.
Well, that's what I'm playing with this today, as like, let me show you what I'm doing. Yeah.
I've been writing a lot of like Hebrew poetry. I'm not writing. It's
right.
Like they're being written. Like they're just like really the faucet. Like I know where they're coming from, my neshama, but the fact that they're coming in rhyme, like I was just going to the paper, I was gonna write it out, my feeling, just to journal it, but it's just coming out in rhyme like crazy.
Yeah.
And everything that you said, I didn't have to think it through. It was just like everything that you're saying is true as it's happening in real time for me, as it's coming out.
Great. Yeah, it will happen.
It's like another, it's a real experience
that
when you tap into it.
Okay, and then I'll bring in Rav Kook. This is called creativity should be effortless. It's impossible to stifle creativity in a person whose soul is constantly creating from its source. When a person feels restricted by a sense of mental fatigue, it's a sign that one perceives one's creation as an act of work and labor. Yet the more one delves into the essence of creativity, the more one recognizes there is no work and labor. God created the world with absolutely no effort and labor. Therefore, the more one emulates God, the more one is able to create without experiencing a feeling of exertion. At every moment, new worlds are created and formed. Past worlds that were once created disappear and are created in a new, higher, holier, beautiful, more beautiful form. there are no feelings of fatigue, restriction, labor, or work. Rather, one experiences peace and joy. Quote, and I will rejoice in God, I will be joyful in God. So that's the place where even if I'm expressing horror and shock and grief, when I'm in that creative state of where I'm connected to Hashem and letting it flow through me, there is an effortlessness that will come. And that's when you know that you're on its healing. That's when you know that you're on the right path. Like they say, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat and we wept when we remembered Zion. There's a beautiful teaching on this of like, this is where the Talmud Bavli was written, on the rivers where we sat and cried. Because you know when you're crying, when you're on that waterway of the river, that you're creating. When we're able to go on that waterway, that's this flowing waterway, and we're feeling the emotion, that's when we write the Talmud. That's when it comes through. So it's good to have an experience of, wow, this is just going to come through. But I will say it does not always happen like that, and it doesn't need to. There is an element of craft. I think there's a difference between craft on the one hand of like, I have an idea, I want to give it expression, I'm thinking about it, and I'm going to work on it. That's important too. Like they're both important. That's the daily getting up and going for a jog in the morning. Not that I do that, but like that I'm going to work. I'm going to can be committed to my craft. And sometimes I'm going to write and it's going to be effort. But then I do that effort so that I have these moments of the faucet is turned on and God is just expressing through me and I'm flowing. And it's not always going to be that flow. Thank God you've had it.
No, I'll tell you, like it starts with like a kind of a flow, and then the work comes in because you don't want to fall into the cliche, and you want to be as authentic. What am I really saying? Like, what's it?
Not want to engage the mind.
The mind has to be there to constantly check in that you're actually saying something truthful and authentic.
Yes.
And
well,
like, and
your
real.
point is to share. So there's writing for myself and my own processing and my own healing, and that's enormous lishma work. And that's fine. You can just flow. And if you want to be expressing a sentiment that you want to ennoble the world with, then you want to be also engaging with your intellect that says, okay, now how do I craft this, all this stuff? Now, how do I craft it? So sometimes it'll look like a lot of flow comes through and I'm not going to edit it or anything, but then I want to bring the editing out. So that's a whole, and I'll share my third one with y'all, which is, I wrote this morning. I knew that I had this idea of, I want to talk about my son's first day of school on September 1st, the day we found out. Like I had that idea of what I wanted to give over. And then I was like, okay, and now I had this idea. Now let me feel. And then let's see what that combination, what's going to come out. Dear Hirsch, on September 1st, I sent my son off to his first day of 12th grade. You see the rhyme there? Hirsch, first, my son's first day of 12th grade. So I got those three rhymes there, but then you want to shake it up. Dear Hirsch, on September 1st, I sent my son off to his first day of 12th grade. With a hug and a smile, but my mind was miles away on you. That's another great way to use a rhyme. Embed it within a larger sentence. So people are like, oh, wait, there's a rhyme there, but wait, it's part of a larger sentence that's going to wake me up. Dear Hirsch, on September 1st, I sent my son off to his first day of 12th grade. With a hug and a smile, but my mind was miles away on you and the news of your vile murder. You get it? Vile. But no, I'm not going to end on the rhyme. That would be cliche. And the news of your vile murder. And then you're like, you really hear murder stand out, right? I'm going to read it one more time. Dear Hirsch, on September, and notice these techniques, because we do not want to just use out rhyme. Dear Hirsch, on September 1st, I sent my son on his first day of 12th grade. With a hug and a smile, but my mind was miles away on you and the news of your vile murder. My son's friend is the younger brother of your best friend, Aner, who was killed before your eyes, catching grenades from the inside of a bomb shelter turned grave. He caught 7 in all till the 8th. You know that one. Was that the one that won your arm? My son told me that his friend hadn't come back to school since that black day. And I had wondered if perhaps he was going to show up for the first day of school, perhaps a new start for a broken heart. Perhaps he packed his bag and readied his books. But then I looked at the news about you and knew, no, there would be no school. He is too busy learning life's harsh truths. And you learned them too. And we are learning them now through you, without you, another reluctant but determined day of school. Right? So we have this theme, this metaphor of school that came in. And the first day of school was the day that we heard about the death. Was the brother of Aner going to come to school? You're not in school, Hirsch, but we are in school. We are learning. So just like the Carmel got, we had the yoga metaphor. Here, there's this metaphor that shines through of we are learning this curriculum. Okay. So I want us to write, and I want to invite us right now. Just go ahead and close eyes.
Paper?
Closing eyes. And go ahead and zone in. I'm gonna, if you want to, and it's feeling moved in you to look at this material, this emotional and intellectual material around the murder of our hostages, then that is a ripe piece of writing. If something else is more moved in you, go with what your emotions are guiding you to. And for this first exercise, just open up the faucet of the emotions. Don't worry about the idea right now. This exercise, just notice the emotions that are present for you. And these are the waterways that you're going to swim in. You might not even have a boat yet, but you are swimming actually in this emotion. And you're going to open up the faucet with your pen and just let whatever comes out. And we're going to let whatever comes out for about 3 minutes. And then we're going to move on. Go ahead, feel the emotion. Don't be afraid of it. It is a gift. Let it be here. Turn up the volume on it. You can turn the volume off when we're done with this class and you get back to normal life. But for right now, don't be afraid of it. Turn up the volume and go ahead when you're ready and write. Okay, it's trying to wrap it up. And now, before we share and process, I want to do one more. This time, let's close eyes again. And this time, get back in touch with that emotion. But instead of just swimming in it, we're going to have a boat. And the boat is an idea that your intellect of your neshama wants to get across on this water wave of this emotion. An idea that's important for you to articulate. But you don't want just the dry idea. You want to water that idea and use the water to take the boat forward. But you want a boat, and this is going to be a boat that is important. You have something important to say. God is giving us all of this because God wants us to build boats. Rav Kook says it very clearly. During World War I, he wrote that wars come to show and clarify the values of a culture. Through this war, we are being refined and our values are being clarified, and we must give expression to what those values are as part of our work in this deluge. So don't let the deluge distract you from the goal, which is I need to give expression to this value and this idea that's being worked through the torture of my soul. I can express the value of my people. So look at ways that emotional material, maybe there's a metaphor there that stands out. I don't know what the concept is that you need to give across. Just if you ever looked at somebody do one of those Rubik's Cubes, before they do the Rubik's Cube, they look at it. They look at this side, they look at that side, and they're like, oh, these are, okay. And these are the patterns. So look at the Rubik's Cube. What are the patterns of what do I want to say? Think about it a second. Notice any ideas or metaphors that come to you. And when you're ready, go ahead and do some craft that's going to build the boat. And let's see where that goes for about 3 minutes. trying to wrap it up. Okay, last little bit is going back to the first and the second material with, as an editor, with a mind. Don't need to get emotional now. Like, just go in, look at the material from number 1 and number 2, and take another 3 minutes to let your editor come in and go back to that first stuff about all the emotion and see how the editing mind can go back in and work with it, just for 3 minutes. And just noticing each of these approaches and how they feel. So I'd love to, at this point, go around and people can share. You can share your piece. You can share a bit about your process, what it was like. We have about 23 minutes. You can share your piece. You can share what was it like to use these different parts of us, the emotional, the editor. Would love to hear your experience. Does anybody want to start us out, and then we'll go in the circle. And also, there's 4 people online, and this is being recorded for other people who might want to watch it, but it's not going out to the broader public. If you feel comfortable having the video on you, who's first?
I don't mind sharing it. I don't mind sharing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Like, what? Okay. I don't mind sharing out because like I think it's like the best poem I ever wrote. Like you said, I've been writing a lot of Hebrew, and I'm definitely not translating them, and I find like my Hebrew expression is so much more deeper and profound. And like I didn't know if it was actually anything was going to come out in English now, but I tried it and something came out. Really, what I would really love to do is share with you my Hebrew poems that I wrote after the murders, and also like the heart sinking. But I'll read what I wrote now.
I love it that you've really been writing.
I've been writing. It's a gift, and
Oh my
it's like
God.
I don't know. It's like mamash. It's like I don't.
Wow.
Okay, so just based on this prompt from you, thank you so much. Confused, sad, guideless, angry, understanding the slightless block as my gateway to connection. Pitchuli, Shari Tzedek. Back to my soul's intention, binding with your soul's elevation, tears of prayer exposing desperation, hope, and the exaltation of a life lived with relief of its isolation.
Yeah, snap that one out.
It came out like you heard it in English?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
I love the guideless and slightest. That's such a great example of off rhyme, by the way, when we're talking about rhyme. So it's like it's almost a rhyme, but it's like a little bit off, and that like kind of brings out the energy a little bit more. So guideless and slightest, you hear that? The kind of difference of those.
Lightless.
What was it? Guideless.
Lightless.
Lightless. Oh,
Understanding
slightest.
this lightless block.
Lightless.
Lightless.
Go over it again.
Confused, sad, guideless, angry.
Guideless.
Understanding this lightless block.
Lightless. Okay.
As to my gateway. But what did you say?
So I thought it was slightest, but guideless, lightless.
Right.
Nice. I like it. Thank you. And how was it to do the emotional versus the editor?
I followed an instruction and something came out. So like, wow, like you're a good teacher. I don't know how you do that, but I was disciplined. I'm not usually a very disciplined student. I go on my own. It's okay. She has her own opinion and I'll go do my own thing. But no, I followed instructions and it came out. It's there.
Yeah. Did you edit that?
I a little bit.
Okay. Those second round, there was two rounds of kind of editing.
The third round of editing was more just adding to the second round because I didn't feel like I did it enough. Like I just I flushed it out.
Me too. Okay, good. Thank you. We're just gonna go around if that's okay. You can say pass.
You can unplug and just bring it closer to the people so that you have to bring it closer because the people at home won't hear you.
It's just our friends. It's Chaya. It's beautiful neshamas.
Amira.
You want to pass? What's your name?
Amira.
Batya?
Oh,
You
Batya.
pass?
Yeah.
Can you just say a word about your experience?
Yeah, let's hear it from Batya. No, that's great.
But if you don't want that, you don't have to have that.
Yeah, I don't think it would be
let's-
good.
Let's turn that off of you. And can you say anything just about your experience of the different writing prompts?
I guess I wasn't really paying attention, or I was too lost in my thoughts, but I got to write, so that was good.
Okay.
Getting some complicated feelings out. So Yeah, I
That's very
appreciate the
good.
space for that. Hopefully next time, will be more
I have to
grounded.
say, it's very important to come on time because the prompts like help
Yeah.
you come up with whatever you need to. You can't just come in without the prompts.
To be good now to find it, thanks to Google sending me.
Now that you know.
It's a hard
Bezat
thing.
Hashem, you'll be.
Okay, but either way, it was a space for you to be with some emotions that were present for you.
Yeah, so that was really nice.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'll share what I wrote. Right, she said. Open the faucet of your emotion, yet I'm looking around wondering what potion she took to break down the grime around her heart, as if feeling itself is the art. But the start is not as simple as she makes it seem for me. I tremble to begin, being cynical instead, aloof better than, because to put my pen to paper for me is actually safer than allowing the emotions to flow, because all the bottled up feelings I have are labeled one thing, I don't know. It's the only label I know, to write. Right, I said. And the second one, I have something important to say. The teacher said to build a boat to help get my message across. I suddenly felt like Noah, instructed to build a vessel to wrestle with the uncontrollable crumbling society I see as I look back over my shoulder. So I try to build faster as if speed is the measure for success. I must rest. If I want to do this right, to write that important thing I have to say, I need not be like Noah. No, I know a way better than he knew back in the day. And today, that is not to build the boat alone. Today, I sit in the class grasping onto the oar of the teacher, the peers. They'll help me get across my sea of fears this year.
Yeah. How was that?
I was like, I don't know. I feel a little like in between. Like earlier in the week or last week I was thinking of like the one time I went scuba diving, and it was like being above like the surface is like, okay, I can breathe, and then there's like under the water, and then there's that transition in between of like going under. And like that's when I get invited to what I live a lot of my space in that transition of like, I want to go deeper. I know there's so much there. Like I know there is. It's so deep. And once I was finally like down under in the water, it was like the most beautiful, peaceful, just like unbelievable experience I had. But it took me like 3 tries just to get under because it was so scary to like get there, you know? So I feel like going into a place of feelings and emotion is like I tend to just live above the surface because I can manage that. And then when I'm trying to put myself in spaces where I'm invited to go under because I feel like I can't, I day goes on and on and on. And it's like I can't get there, but I know I need to and I want to. But yeah. So it was a good good external gevura for me to like start to do it.
Well, it was amazing. So I was so noticing that you even said it yourself of like you're gonna use this space to be the thing that gets you there. And that is actually how you wrote, is the teacher said this, and you use that as your opening. Right. And that was the technique and the device that you then use. And you then said, this is what I use. Like you were really explicit about it.
Yeah.
And it really worked. It really created, I think, a framing. And I think even if you hadn't had that framing of like, it's like gives the reader a sense of, here's the space I'm in. And it's like, oh, we're in a setting. You know, like as a listener, I'm like, yeah, we're in a setting. I get what this is. I'm with you in the storyline of this woman in this class, and like it's like it was really engaging way to start, and it also then you just like brought out all these great, verbal twists and turns and.
Bring a little bit of what you wrote into Torah here. What you wrote is so perfect out of like the Timoran, Rabbi Nachman's Torah, on Noah's Ark, which you made a reference to, and he says, "Tzorah taseret teva," you have to make like a window that shines, or a gem that illuminates light in the teva in this ark, and the way Rabbi Nachman explains is that the way to make your way in confounded situation that you're lost in, and you can't get in touch with feelings and emes, is just to say one word of emet. And if emet is like, if the emes is like, I'm lost, so say that, I'm lost, I'm not able to, I cannot, I feel it's beyond me. And that, just like saying that in a truthful way, just like is the thing that opens it up, is the tzoha, is the light. Like your poem is a living interpretation of that Rabbi Nachman's Torah. Just awesome. Okay.
Careful.
I'm gonna pass, but I will say that in terms of the process, it was very helpful for you to just stress the point that it'll just come naturally. Like you don't, I mean, it's already there anyway. You just have to access it, and accessing it is much simpler than we would think. And I'm just gonna make an analogy. I'm an attorney, and I once wrote a brief, an appellate brief, in like 6 hours, which is unheard of because it takes 6 hours just to write, ask the court for an extension of time. You are always extending. But because I knew the law and I knew that I was right on this issue, boom, it was just like 6 hours, like incredible. So it can be done. And so I don't know, just
Well, that's so cool that you're able to do a appellate brief as a form of creative download.
Well, and it was kind of just necessary.
Wow.
But I'm just making the same analogy that it was like, it's so simple, like nobody would believe, like 6 hours, you wrote an appellate brief in like 6 hours and boom, you had the deadline and everything. So I think that writing poetry, that whatever is there, whatever your truth is, it'll just flow. And
did that, when you were writing the poetry part here, it felt that way?
A few lines, but not everything,
Yeah.
because I'm a little out of sync this morning, but
Yeah. What's your name again?
Malka.
It's going to be great. Okay, I feel very novice, but I will say that I feel like you're like a birthing coach, like helping give birth to something very organic. And it's been excruciating for everyone, but I mentioned I was in the States, and at the same time as all this was going on, Chasei Hashem, I have 2 daughters who gave birth within 6 weeks of each other, and I was by my one daughter's side for a very long, painful 25-hour labor. So we're a little bit where everything is evolving from. But I hope I can read it because I scribble a lot in person, but I'll try. Be very okay. To the master of all worlds. Birth, death, excruciating pain unearthed for both, pushing, tearing, bleeding, opening to something new, opening, entering to this lowest world, opening, entering to the highest world, curled inside a womb, curled inside what we call a secure room, curled inside what we call a shelter. Really, where is our security? I'm sick from all this, very, very homesick for the master of all worlds.
I love how you brought, there was like the master of all worlds at the beginning, and then it was like, no, you're just talking about your own experience here, and then you bring them back in right there at the end. Like the framing technique, let's say. So just read the beginning part again. The first line.
Birth, death.
Wait, but so it was the
Right.
title that was
To the master of
to the
all
master.
worlds.
Okay. So it's like you have that at the beginning, and then we don't even know where he's at necessarily, but then boom, you bring it back in right there. Yeah. Right.
It's 11:07, and the class that was advertised at 11:15.
Yes.
And there'll be people on Zoom waiting to come in. So just remember that.
Yeah, I think we're
Sure.
we got it.
If other people want to say, we do have like 4 minutes.
11:07. We have 10. We have
There's
8 minutes.
8 minutes, I know, but
Okay.
we need 2 minutes to like be normal about it.
Okay, fine.
Thank you, everyone.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you so much for this statement. Yeah,
I really appreciate learning about the multi-step process, the different stages. I don't, and yeah, I don't know that I came away with a finished poem. I felt like I could have stayed like longer in each of the little stations. But the feelings that I want to channel and the idea that I want to express is, there's so much going on the outside, collective tragedy, but like all that not everything, not all, but a lot of what comes up for me is my own personal pain. It's like, where does the collective tragedy start and where does my pain begin? And like what, just like a lot of judgments, like why am I so small that like the only thing I can feel is like my own stuff.
I want to tell you from a pro perspective that it's not small to think about you because the Rizal, based on there says, Kol Adam Olam Katan. The Geula, the collective Geula begins with each person finding a Geula. And what you have to focus on your thing, what you have to deal with. If this is weighing on your heart, you're not, the collective will benefit from you healing that part that is yours. You are contributing to the war effort and the hatzlacha, everything that needs to be the hatzlacha, by you bringing focus on what needs to be focused in your private life. 100%. No guilt.
Agreed.
Thank you for that.
We need to deal with darling.
Yeah.
I mean, next week I can move my class to 11:30. I don't think it'll be 11:15, but today it has to be 11.
Yeah. I just read what I wrote, I think.
Go ahead.
I know this.
What's your name?
Avril. I know the empty space, a hole seared in the heart. I share your grief. Pain seems unendurable. Yet deep within, our beloved one is soaring on the wings of Hashem, basking in his light, as we, still wandering along our human journeys, just holding on to the memories of the joy they gave us as we traveled together. The other one was washed along on a tidal wave of tears. I joined the tear-stained earth that cries to no longer be watered with the blood of hate, no longer deafened by the sirens blaring of impending gloom. Oh, to be free to share Hashem's light, bring mankind to a place of truth and peace. Let our voices ring out to the world, to Hashem, to save us from the tsunami now engulfing his creation. Thank you.
Yeah. And how was the process for the first one versus the second?
I think I wasn't really thinking about.
Yeah.
Well, I just like
you were just doing it.
To feel what I was feeling. And
Yeah.
It's like
Powerful.
I was also thinking about birth. Actually, I was thinking about baby's birth.
my baby.
And I don't know whether this is a poem, but this is what I wrote in the paper. No effort. The world is being created. Let it drip through me. The water's gushing through me. Birthing happens. Life continues and flowing its force. Lifing. This child is set off on his course, slide of life. A big cry, let's go. How will it all be? The ups and ups and ups of existence, the downward slopes with a promise. Really, a promise? Is it going to be? Will it be for me to complete it? Bo Hashem, to be a cog. How interesting, fascinating, the joy of being filled with tears and the opposite. When? In the now.
Surprise. Surprise ending.
Love it. The second one, would you believe it started coming out in Hungarian?
Nice. That's a good sign.
Yeah, but I was just writing about the different boats in my life. And how, and it started out, I don't know, with an image immediately of being on the Danube with rowboats, because in order to row a boat, everybody has to be together, and all the paddles or whatever they're called, a lot of English words didn't come out, but yeah, the different boats of my life, on sightseeing tours, on going to Bimini, going to America, going on a airplane that's a boat, but it's called seaplane, and you know, like all these boats.
Nice.
And-
Okay, so the
and-
metaphors came through.
Yeah.
Nice job.
and being on the Kinneret with what Miriam Hanaviah, and keep floating on this floating of life, and with an illuminated boat.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Okay, sorry, onliners, that we don't have time for yours. Next time, we'll do the timing better.
If they can email it to me.
Yes, everybody, please,
They have my email.
you can email to Yael. Also, people here, if you have some, you know, if you wrote something that you would be open to sharing, we do have a web WhatsApp group where people have been sharing
called?
their
What's it called? I forget what it's
at
called.
Chaya can tell us more at the right time about what that is.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Right,
Wow.
definitely, like the WhatsApp chat for the,
It's called creative expression.
what's
It's
it
called
called?
creative expression.
I'm pretty
That's
sure. Let me just double check. I think
I'll have
Thank
my
you,
WhatsApp,
Shabbat.
you WhatsApp me and I'll send you the link to register. What
Thank
did you
you.
say?
Creative expression.
Lolo, wait.
Creative.
Creative community. Creative community.
Creative community.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Go team. Thank you.
Next.
And hopefully people will come back next week and we'll have it's a more therapeutic space when we stay committed and show up and form a little group. So thank you.
And we'll try to make the class 15 minutes longer.
So we'll do it at 11:50. Well, no, we didn't start on time, so if we start on time, we really need
It should be
to,
okay. I can make it fit.
we really need to start on time and everybody needs to come on time and then we'll be okay.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna